Hey, what's up guys? Little man with a big opinion here. Today's video is going to be a little difficult for me to make, and it will be a difficult topic for a lot of preppers to digest, and let's just hop into it. In today's video, we're going to talk about what you can do when other people show up at your doorstep, because those of you that watch my videos, and myself included, and I would say in today's day and age, at least 1% of the US population has dedicated resources and time to putting away food and water, acquiring skills, developing plans to survive any type of SHTF situation, whether that is a natural disaster, or you think an economic collapse or a government takeover is going to happen. Maybe you watched the Doomsday Preppers show on the Discovery Channel. It might have been Nat Geo, one of those two. And, they were preparing for EMPs and the zombie apocalypse and Yellowstone. Regardless of what you're prepping for, you are someone like me that has the skills and the supplies that if our just-in-time delivery system collapsed, they say there's roughly 3 days worth of supplies in a given Walmart or grocery store, and after that, we're 3 days away from chaos. We're the type of people that will most likely survive more than 3 days into it because of what we've done. So, what are you going to do when people inevitably show up? Whether it's friends, family, or just people that realize you're in a better position than they are. And I have to give it a little bit of a context, because a very generic answer I've heard a lot of preppers give is, I have a firearm and I'm going to drive them away with that. It's my stuff. I gathered it. I spent my money. You should have been prepared. And I can say, without a doubt, 99% of the preppers that say that, unless they're desperately trying to take care of their family as well, people are generally good-natured. I lived in Corpus Christi when Hurricane Harvey came through. In the last couple of days, it decided to pull up north, made landfall, Port Aransas, Galveston area, and went up north towards Houston. And for 2 weeks after the fact, I was helping in any way that I could. Shortly after I came back, I was cutting down trees, helping clear debris. I would cook food for several of my friends and some of their family, because they had no power, and in some instances they had no house anymore. So you've heard of the Cajun Navy and other states sending firefighters to California and even Australia. It's in our nature to help one another. So for you to sit there and say, it's my stuff, I'm going to drive them all away, all that's going to do is label you as, an enemy. At some point, there will be enough of them, or they will be desperate enough that what you have is worth the risk. So, going into the first thing that I would say about what do you do with people like this, because that is, on one end, one of the most extreme things. One of the more lenient, generous options that I've seen preppers talk about is taking 5-gallon buckets and making, little supply caches, or taking drawstring backpacks and stuff and making, little, almost like food pantry bags. That way, someone shows up, you've got something, you can say, here you go, and you send them on your way. What that's also going to do is, just like feeding the bears, if they don't have any plan or system in place to continue to feed themselves after that, then they're going to keep showing up. Maybe they will demand more, or they don't like what they're being given, so they want to, pick it out. And you could find yourself in the same situation of, you have convinced enough people that you've got enough food that you're handing out, very small increments or scraps to them, and you're holding back. So you could end up in the same situation. The number one thing that I would say in dealing with this is operational security, or OPSEC. For that, the less people that know you prep, the better, and the less obvious you are in any type of SHTF situation, the better. I made a video recently talking about blending in, being the gray man. So if you've got this massive supply of stuff and there's still some small level of government, they've set up a bread line. If you're the only person not showing up to said bread line, that means you've got something. There's a reason why you're not doing that. People could catch on. If you're the only person running a gas generator, surrounded by several hundred, if not thousands of houses, you're the only person cooking food over a fire, so they see light and they smell something, then those can all be signs of you are better off than someone else, and they want to investigate that situation, and it could become a situation where you have to defend yourself. I would say staying out of conflict is your best bet. That being said, I kind of take a middle ground approach. My plan is to stay hidden as long as possible. What money that I can budget into prepping, I put it away strategically. So I do stand on that line of, I'm in my early 20s. I don't make a lot of money, so what I have put away, it's a very materialistic idea. On the other hand, I recently moved in next to my grandparents. My grandparents aren't the prepping type, and I'm not the type of person to just throw them to the wind. So, in a sense, I've already kind of started prepping in case I have to involve them as well. But if you have friends or family that you care about enough, then as a prepper, you're already going to think about supplying them. But at the same time, do not expect them to just show up like you're going to the beach house and there's your area, there's your stuff, and you're good to go. If they're showing up on your doorstep expecting a handout, expecting to be supported, then they should fully expect to take part in the security, take part in the growing of more crops, the animal husbandry. They should bring what they can to the table, skill-wise and supply-wise. And so my parents, they know I prep. They kind of prep. They understand if something were to go down that they're not just getting a handout. And I wouldn't expect them to not want to participate. That being said, for the random people, they saw the flashlight, they smelled the beef stew cooking. You have to be able to balance pushing people away and giving them supplies, but treat it like a barter situation. If you're going to give someone a couple days worth of food, ask them to chop firewood, ask them to, dig a new latrine or burn the trash, or just whatever chores for your homestead, your mag, that you have available, disseminate some of the work out to those other people. If you do want to go the route of, supplying people with stuff, if you do a 5-gallon bucket or a bag, it makes it seem like you plan that out, at least in my head. And as someone that would be receiving this handout, that would be like a red flag for me. If anything, tell them to wait, go in, grab a couple of things, and make it seem like you're parting with something that you would much rather not part with. It's kind of cheesy, but using the line of, I don't have much, here's what I can offer, and, I hope it helps. Be sincere about it because you are trying to help someone out. And, just don't, show your entire hand, if I should say it that way. On the other hand, in this situation, it could be after, the grid goes down, it could be how you build a relationship. If someone is completely willing to, earn their stay, earn their keep, and they're up, sun up to sundown, fixing the fence, milking the cow, whatever chores you have, and they're seriously participating, then, as a civilization, the more people you have in your group, the better. And in that situation, I believe most preppers would have their immediate family, maybe a couple of friends that they can convince, and, you'll see small communities pop up, these 3 or 4 streets elected a leader and they are gathering their supplies and figuring out a plan. If you're someone in a position where you can make it easier for people to, group up, survival with 10 people is probably a lot easier than survival with 6 people. And I know I'm throwing out all these different scenarios and options. The main reason why I'm doing it is because there's absolutely no right or wrong answer to this. If you had just started prepping, you only had a month's worth of food for your whole family, you had the one firearm and only a few boxes of ammo, and you only had water supplies for a couple of weeks, you're most likely not going to be the person handing out food. You're going to be that person driving people away with your firearm. You're going to be that person that wants to stay hidden and off the radar. Because, there is a level of, security or insurance in having the amount of supplies that you have. I just recently watched Canadian Preppers video. He had 5 years worth of food. He is in a much better position to make deals with people, hand out food, than myself. I have about 16 months worth of food. I'm in a much better position than probably the people that just moved in next door. They might not even have a full fridge and a pantry. They could only have 5 days worth of food, and they're going to do everything they can to protect their lifeline. Because 3 days without water, you're in a pretty bad shape. 3 weeks without food, pretty bad shape. And, it just compounds from there. So, having the food security, I say that's, food and water is almost more important than security in this situation. Because you can have 50,000 rounds of ammunition. If you can't feed the person holding that firearm, you as well, then you're going to end up in a very poor position. And that's all I got for you. So, if you found any of this information useful, like and subscribe to the channel. We're continuing to grow, and we're up to about 50 views per video. So I think the sharing with friends and family members that would also find this information helpful or useful is working. So keep sharing the video, keep liking, and keep subscribing, and comment down below anything that you would add, to this discussion. It's a very difficult one to talk about because humans, you know, we like to help each other out, and in this situation, you really have to struggle between taking care of you, yourself, your your family, and helping out, your fellow Texan, your fellow American, and just your fellow human. So, with that, I'll catch you in the next one.